Welcome back, Boy Meets World fans. Thanks for being here. If you can hit that like and subscribe button, it would help me out a ton. Either way, thanks for being here. We are talking about season 1, episode 10, Santa's Little Helper. Let's jump in. I love that. Where's the Grinch? There's nobody in this story named Carol. I love when Mr. Feeney's like, Miss Lawrence, will you please switch places with Corey? And she's like, okay. I'm an 11-year-old hyperactive underachieving boy. I meant physically. Oh, that takes less of a second toll. I love that. I think this is the episode where we really start to touch on Sean's family situation. Of course, in this episode, it's that his dad lost his job. So starting to really carve out that whole backstory. But I do think it's funny when Stuart's like, can I sit with y'all? And they're like, no, but he still sits down anyway and they're talking like they're friends. So I kind of love that dynamic. It's like, oh, shut up, you know we're friends. I think it's so funny when Alan's like doing the lights and he's like, wait, these aren't the right ones. Oh my god, poor Morgan, so traumatized by Santa. I love that Amy's like, Alan, it's not funny. Morgan thinks she killed Santa Claus, and they're just both cracking up. Corey always, like, really had a good heart in the season 1. Like, he learned lessons, and he was, like, very receptive. It's funny, because he's like, can I give Sean one of the presents under the tree? That's a really nice idea, Corey. What about Eric's? What about one of Eric's? Amy and Eric are trying to get Morgan to come out. Oh, why did he just call me on the phone if he's not alive? He did. What did he say? He said, ho, ho. I love Will Friedle as Eric. And Corey learned another lesson. Giving a gift with expectation is not the point of things. Mr. Feeney always on hand to illuminate the situation. Just as they get Morgan out, here comes that crazy elf. And demon child? That's something you think. You don't say it out loud in front of their parents, dude. I love that Alan just slams the door in the guy's face. I always think it's so sweet when Corey pays for Sean using his $5 that he saved for a month to buy his imitation nylon net for his basketball. Such a nice little moment between Minkus and Sean. Sean and Corey, one of those classic moments, making up and just being best buds. I love that Morgan's like, I'm not answering any more doors. I absolutely adore that Feeney dressed up like Santa in this episode for Morgan, but I love the way he comes in. He doesn't have the beard on his face. He's like, hello, Morgan. He doesn't do the ho, ho, ho. He's just very direct. I love it. We only hear the ho 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 when Corey's when he asks Morgan, what do you want for Christmas? Good grades for Corey, ho ho ho. I do love that Morgan's like, Mommy, why does Santa look like Mr. Feeney? Hey Boy Meets World fans, thanks for being here as always. If you're so inclined, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. And let's jump into episode 10, Santa's Little Helper podcast thoughts. First, I'm going to back up to Betsy's podcast. It was really awesome that they could talk to her. But going from the beginning down through my notes, I have to say that, 60 songs that explain the 90s podcast that Ryder was talking about sounds really intriguing. And I never knew that Closing Time wasn't about a bar. I learned something new today. Thanks, Ryder. And yes, I do have to agree. Betsy was definitely America's TV mom. You just wanted to hug her. I feel like she gave really great hugs. And, I love the shot song too, Danielle. So high five to you because that was my club jam as well. Yes, I have to agree. I did know the Crash Into You song was sexual, and I think we all knew the same applied to Baby Hit Me One More Time. And I will just say, speak for myself, no, this podcast is not ruining my childhood. A lot of things have in life, but not this. So bravo. And I personally love the letters that are touching people's lives. I think that is really, really cool. I have no doubt that the live will be the cat's pajamas. And yes, I just want to say, Betsy, that was hilarious when you said about having home improvement hair. Yes, the milk bottle with Lily's picture. So funny. I think I remember something about that, actually. I think it's really cool that they use it on the show, though. It's like an Easter egg before we called them Easter eggs. I always loved, and still when I rewatch Home Improvement, love Betsy on Home Improvement. And I think it's because I identified with her because she was like the feminist, in your face kind of friend to her married friend, Jill Taylor in this instance. And that's me. Like, I'm always that way with all my female friends' husbands. So I totally identify with that. And to think that Betsy was supposed to play Tim's wife in the show or auditioned for it, that's such a mind blowing thing. I can't even imagine it. Can I just say, I think that Betsy, not that the 90s styles were good, but I think she really made them work. Like, they didn't look terrible on her, like, because like going, like, I hate to say this, but like in Home Improvement, that's the one thing I couldn't stand about how they dressed Tim's wife, because oh my god, she just, it did not it, but most of the 90s styles looked really frumpy to me, and I think as the seasons went on, it definitely got better in terms of style, but like in those beginning seasons, it was like, oh my god. But it's funny because there's such a contrast with Betsy, because I think she just really made it work. And I totally agree that her and Russ were not the typical 90s TV parents, and I think that's why they still resonate today. Who else thought it was hilarious when Betsy said she enjoyed playing evil? Me. Okay, and also hearing Betsy confirm what I think a lot of us felt and feel, that her role was very diminished and very one-dimensional, was kind of nice, because like I do feel like her role was very much in the background a lot of the times. I mean, she played very well up against Russ with his hot head, Alan's hot head kind of ways, but like it was all very diminished. Like, so it was kind of odd in that respect. So it was nice to hear her say that she stood up for herself, and that's a life lesson. If you don't stand up for yourself, who will? Oh, Betsy's son saying, friends, her son's friend saying that she's hot. That's funny. I always liked the relationship that Betsy had with Will, Eric. Amy and Eric had on the show. I think they had some cute storylines. And, she's right. Alan did tell everybody what to do. But I appreciate that she would tell him no when he got bossy. And, their good relationship honestly did come through on the screen, which is great because that doesn't always happen. And, I mean, it's natural that she would have a crush on him, I think, personally. And their real kiss story about melting the ice cream was hilarious. Oh my god, Will's answer about having a Jaguar. I'm 19 and I'm selfish. Hey, it's true. So Betsy and Will ride again. They are both, team side yard, but I kind of agree. Maybe everyone's right and it's just team makes no sense. I kind of agree with that too. Will is a great mediator, just like Mr. Plays with Squirrels. How funny is that? Betsy, as a TV mom, definitely raised a lot of kiddos. And she's at least one of America's moms, for sure. I can say I've always felt that meeting in the hotel near, later seasons, I can say like it did feel awkward at one point, but I am going to say in the TV sitcom arena, it was very funny. It was very sitcomish, so it worked. But I can say, like, in real life, that would be super awkward and a little weird. I feel like everyone was a little intimidated by Bill. Not just the kids, you know? And, it was just really cool to hear Betsy's perspective on everything. And I mean, she really was like a TV mom extraordinaire, and definitely in the Hall of Fame of TV moms, especially for us 80s, 90s kids. And so much love between all of them. You can just feel that kind of family bond, just a lot of love, and the emotion really comes through. And I think that's why they work so well together. And who else loved the fact that Betsy kind of took Will under her wing when his parents were across the country? I think that's really, really sweet. And I just wanted to kind of point out that I really appreciate that Ryder is so invested in this podcast, because at one time he really wasn't that. He was very much kind of extricating himself from the whole Boy Meets World experience, just, living his life. So it's nice to see him kind of come back and be really into this podcast. And he seems to be really enjoying it. And I think him and Danielle and Will just have such a good rapport that, again, it makes it very enjoyable. Okay, so talking about episode 10, Santa's Little Helper, the actual podcast for this. First and foremost, I just want to say it's surprising that Ryder is a messy eater. Zachary Ty Bryan wanting Danielle to play his girlfriend in Home Improvement. I did not know that. That is wild. And, but honestly, who wouldn't want her to play their girlfriend? She's awesome. And, it's so funny that Ryder has no recollection of this episode, especially considering not only is this kind of the genesis of Corey and Sean, but it's also really cementing Sean's character in this episode. I'm just going to say I always got the psychic toll joke, even when back in the day that Topanga made in this episode. Turn off your nerd magnet. I always thought that line was funny from Ryder. And Will's attention to detail, the no net M ball. I swear, that boy has got serious attention to detail. Ryder's, ha! I always love that, even though it's like short-lived. And, okay. How funny is it that Will told the story about Ryder being watched in the TV Village, as they called it, and they said, oh man, he was so good, and how Will was jealous. It's like, wow, that is crazy. But that is the moment where he feels that the Sean character and as Corey's best friend that was it. That was a done deal at that point. And yes, I agree. Minkus was kind of a jerk in this episode. But I could see and understand him not understanding money issues. But, like Will said, a very good way to explain it. He was really smart, but not very wise. The Christmas lights not working is a trope that I think every movie and TV sitcom or whatever has touched on if there has been a Christmas-related episode. Okay, I want to see pictures of Will's dad's cylinder tree, and I definitely want to see Ryder's redwood branches. And by the way, Ryder's dad sounded like a badass. And Morgan was really fantastic in this episode. I really liked the little bond that was shown between her and Eric as well. Yeah, Eric not being acknowledged yet again. I mean, it's funny. I never really noticed it until he started pointing it out on this podcast, how little he was acknowledged. But it's very true. The oldest child struggle is real. I did not see or notice Will mouthing Betsy's lines. I think I have to go back and rewatch that. And the background on TV shows have always been so funny to me, that the fact that you have like these sound stages, even for an outdoor scene, and they are right, it never looks that cold, especially on this episode right before Christmas in Philadelphia. I'm going back and I'm like, did it ever like really look cold on their set? Because I don't think it did. Okay, so the elf coming to their house, definitely a bit extra in my opinion. Minkus using the deadbeat line was really harsh, truly. It really was. And I completely believe that Will is a phenomenal liar. I have no problems believing that. And Keister, have not heard that word in forever, but I'm telling you, I'm bringing it back. So Corey lying to protect his friend is a truly lovely gesture of friendship for sure. I always agreed with that. Okay, so I'm just going to be real. The 93 music, movie, TV trivia questions were a fun flashback. I missed all of them except knowing that Family Matters and Mad About You were higher rated than Boy Meets World. Like, I did know that. But those questions were hard, but blast from the past. Okay, so I love that Ryder was not a sports guy, but he did a movie about playing sports. Dribbling a basketball was apparently his worst nightmare. And, you know, I never really thought about the live audience having to express the same sentiment over and over again with multiple takes for a scene. So this makes me wonder how many of those responses are genuine. And it's no wonder they use things like canned laughter or, you know, shock or whatever, because now that I don't know why I never thought about this. It's just, it kind of blew my mind when they talked about this, because I was just like, whoa, that's true. So they should really just get the first response and use that later. It does make you wonder. And I have to say, Too Much Shirt segment was great. Hey, Indy, what's up? I find it hilarious that Indy was not at all about Sean in this episode. He was all about Morgan. And Ryder's wife never watching not a single episode. That is mind-blowing, but I get it. Will making Indy laugh while intimidating Santa. That was great. And Indy's reaction to his mom not watching his dad's show and her saying it's creepy, that is just the best. Like, seriously. And Will only wanting to date women who've seen every single episode of Boy Meets World. I have to wonder, was that a joke or was that real? Because with you, you are a phenomenal liar after all. So Bill playing Santa is kind of everything. It's such an everything moment to wrap up this episode. And it just kind of really shows him as kind of part of their family, which at the beginning, it really didn't seem like that. So, you know, it's kind of great. It's kind of awesome. And then, like, Ryder's wife hating the opening credit scenes, like, is hilarious. But then it's like, kids really like it. So, you know, that's kind of crazy too. Okay, so that was a different version of Jingle Bells, Batman Smells. Like, man, Will for the win again on the attention to detail. And honestly, everyone wants to take credit for naming Topanga. I swear we will never know the real story, I feel like. And yay for Trina McGee on the next one. Hopefully they will have her back when they get to the episodes that she's actually in. But it's exciting to hear from these people. It's really cool that they're having such a great response, that they're already doing the live show. And I hope that there's going to be clips or something from the live show, because it sounds like it is going to just be awesome. And I know this was a long one, but you know what? There was a lot to cover. And with this being 2 podcasts a week, I'm keeping it light, guys, I promise. So that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you next week.